Hello, Jimjamatic here. Welcome to a brand new episode of Robot Wars episode reviews. We're on to Heat J of Series 4. After the sort of okay heat of this series, Heat I, then we go downhill a little bit more to one of the more boring heats of Heat J, but it's not boring who I've got with me. Of course, I have one of my regulars, Alexthehunted.
Yay, I'm here.
He's been let out of the
I'm not in public this time.
No, because last time we heard all manner of things in the background that I cannot explain. But it was like a live.
Yeah.
It was almost like a kind of a live stream of you walking around.
Basically, yeah.
And my other guest, the first time he's on. You've seen him before in, of course, the BattleBots video. But it's the first time he's appeared on my live reviews. It is, of course, Mike, aka Mr. Psycho 2.
How did I get here? What kind of witchcraft is this?
I like to think how this is the heat his first appearance on.
It's kind of unfortunate. This was the first one.
Well, you guys had all the good heats taken.
Yeah.
I suppose. I mean, I therefore have every single good heat and also every crap heat. So.
Well, we're currently in the middle of the slog of Series 4. The middle just
It started around Tornado's heat, and then it just kind of declined slightly, and then it hits rock bottom the next heat. So at least you're not in Heat K. At least you're not. Actually, no. Actually, Alex, you are in Heat K. I just realised.
Yes, I am.
It's okay. Good luck with that. But yeah, this heat's just there's nothing really that great in it. I mean, if you want to skip an episode, folks, by all means, Heat J and K are certainly the ones that are not the worst ones to skip. But of course, you don't get to hear our awesome voices otherwise.
This is kind of the problem with how many seeds are in this series. We're in a complete average of the seeding area because you got number 14 and number 30. Yeah. So it's not like these are the high ranking amazing bots you got in this.
No.
Speaking of number 30, how did Stinger get a seed?
I don't know. I still don't. I mean, obviously, in hindsight, it's a decent robot, but from its performance in Series 3, nope. No one would ever think of it a seed.
I mean, considering that Blade and Trident withdrew, that would have mean that Stinger was going to be seeded 32, meaning that Centurion and Suicidal Tendencies didn't get a seed.
I don't get it. I mean, I mentioned in the preview for last heat, but I think probably maybe something like All Talk or maybe Invertebrat could have got a seed in the lower end as opposed to Stinger. I mean, I don't even. I mean,
was it literally just they pulled the name out of a hat?
They must have. I mean, I don't see any other way why this robot could have got a seed. I mean.
Maybe the seeds are not based on performance. Maybe they're based on who the producers think make a better show.
Well, I think it's true with some of them, I think. I mean, Stinger's definitely a blinding example of such.
Well, from what I've also been told is the seeds were also based on the robot that they thought was most likely going to win that series. So they thought Stinger had a chance of actually winning it. And judging by its performance in Series 4, the producers actually got something right for once.
They came third, so they had some kind of mystic psychic power of knowing how far they'd get. Yeah. But, I mean, in all fairness, though, if I just judge Stinger's performance on the very first battle, which we'll obviously get to, I would never have rated this thing in the slightest. But honestly, throughout, it's one of those robots that seem to have got better. I think they got more used to controlling it and how it worked. As it got slightly better as it went through the series. I mean, Heat Final, it was actually quite good, and then obviously in the semi-finals. Panic Attack stuff aside, it's and Chaos 2 stuff aside as well. I mean, it seems to have some weird battles associated with it.
And it's funny to think that. I mean, if you think about Series 3 had quite a few whackbots in it,
and only one rose to the occasion.
And now, from Series 4 and pretty much onward, there's only really Stinger and something left.
Yeah, pretty much. And even then, Stinger wasn't even allowed in Series 7 because of the no active weapon rule.
Yeah.
So that was kind of annoying. But actually, I've always described, as I said a couple of heats ago when Wheelosaurus appeared, Wheelosaurus is like the granddad. I think Stinger's more the dad, and Gabriel's like the overachieving son. Because Gabriel's pretty much what Stinger was naturally moving to, like a twackbot that's actually both really well engineered and also really well controlled and actually can do damage as opposed to being more of a flail bot with slight
I've been wanting to ask actually, because also Mike, you're a bit of a fan of Gabriel. Gabriel's only 95 kilos, so if it was built back in the day, it could have entered in like Series 5 onwards. I just wondered how well it would have done then, or would it be just so big it would probably just drive over the wall?
It is a definite possibility.
It pretty much is. I mean, honestly, obviously, it's a massive improvement compared to Series 3, where they just ran into Mace 2 and fell in the pit, so at least they won the heat.
It lasted longer than something, and something died in the first hit in Series 3.
Something has a habit of killing itself.
Yeah.
Like it's a robot that wants to die.
It's a running theme, isn't it? Pretty much with that robot, but I mean, Stinger as itself, I mean, it's not a bad robot. I mean, I don't love it as much as a lot of people do, but I'm
actually a bit of a Stinger fan myself. I mean, that's again like this is one of those things that I kind of, when I was a kid, this was one of my favorite heats of Series 4. But looking back, I'm like, why?
I know Anderson really likes this heat, particularly because he likes Stinger a lot. So I guess maybe that's probably the reason why.
I like Stinger too, but again, it's not. I mean, now that we've seen what an actual, what a really good twackbot is, it's, Stinger's, and the weird thing is Stinger still fights today.
Yes, it looks all rusted up, but it still works. And yeah. I was actually thinking today, I was trying to think of a proper reason why I was not a big fan of Stinger, and I think I might have found the reason why. I think it's because I'm too spoilt with Gabriel, that I look back on Stinger, and it's a decent robot, but it just doesn't, compared to Gabriel with a little more control and the damage and stuff, it just doesn't seem to have what Gabriel has. But I mean, it's not as bad as something like Razor. Like I like it and respect it in that way. It's similar, but I don't hate it as much as Razor. I just kind of think it's a decent robot, but I can't say I outright love Stinger. But I don't know.
I like Stinger the more that I see of it. I kind of started off like, what is this thing? Why is it here? It's just like every other twackbot from Series 3. And like the more that I saw of it, the more I'm like, wow, this is actually a viable design. I'm impressed.
Well, actually, the thing is also, Stinger, unlike most twackbots, has a bit of a personality about it, I think.
Yeah. I mean, the other twackbots, their personality was that they were slow and they broke down. So... Yeah.
Stinger's always been like Jonathan even says like Stinger he's like saying Stinger loves a bit of a rumble and a fight, which is kind of true. Stinger always is one of those robots that just gets in there.
Yeah, I mean the only other kind of other thwackbots in this series were Something, which kills itself, Wheelosaurus that dies without doing nothing, and Attila the Drum, which the Robot Wars team kept insisting that we kept throwing in our face. We have it in the Heat, we have it in the Pinball, we have it in the I haven't seen it yet, but they're in the Southern Annihilator as well. And it's like, I don't care about Attila the Drum, I want to see Stinger.
And Attila the Drum got nominated for most promising newcomer.
It lost. Lost
and
in
then
the
never came
round.
back.
No, yeah, great newcomer. Yeah. But yeah, I don't mind Stinger. It's still a good robot though, and obviously later.
I mean, there's no surprising this is its best series.
Oh yeah, obviously when you get to 5 and 6 onwards, the technology starts getting better. And in fairness, its battle in Series 6 had some tough opponents like Thermidor 2 and 13 Black. I mean, wow, that was an awful fortunate first round to be in.
Fluffy.
Oh yeah, you haven't. Have you seen Fluffy yet, Mike?
I have not, but from the kind of context that I've gotten from all of those names, that sounds like it would be a tough heat for any robot, let alone a thwackbot.
I mean, you haven't seen 13 Black either. So that's an interesting robot as well.
I've seen it up for auction.
Oh, I should have bought that. God damn it.
Yeah, 13 Black are the guys who made Heavy Metal in Series 9.
And Limpet randomly in Series 2.
Oh, so they're all over the board.
Yeah, random series as well. But of course, we got to get to the robot that came runner-up to Stinger, which
it's another robot that later down the line they get better.
Well, actually, literally next series. In all honesty, Bulldog Breed 3, but Bulldog Breed 2 is, well, let's say it's definitely an improvement on the original, which just didn't really do any. Actually, even if it wasn't interference problems, I still don't think Bulldog Breed would have done anything in Series 3. I mean, it lost to RoboPig. That's humiliation in itself, but I mean, this at least in this series, it's actually passes as a competent robot. Is it a really good robot though?
No.
No, I mean the Flipper's okay. I mean, yeah, through
It's
Spikasaurus
more
round stuff, but
it's more of a lifter than a flipper. Honestly,
it's more of a flick. It's more of a flick than an actual flip,
Yeah.
isn't it? But I mean, obviously from Series 5 onwards, it really does get well and just keeps getting very unlucky till, it does finally get.
eventually it gets good.
Just actually very similar to Atomic, aren't they? I think
Yeah.
I think Nate mentioned all the similarities last heat, but yeah, these two are almost like very similar robots. How they both started around the same time. Didn't really get good until like Series 5, and then took until Series 7 to actually get decent progress. So, but in fairness, they were probably one of the better robots in this heat, which is saying something.
I mean, look, only problem with Bulldog. Really, the problem with Bulldog Breed is, well, actually, there's many problems with Bulldog Breed. In this Bulldog Breed 2, one is it's so slow.
I forgot how.
Oh my god, it was so slow.
And actually, I'm not joking. I think when it came to your live review, Mike, I think I hadn't seen the heat like properly in like a few years, so I was like, all right, fair enough. I'll watch the live review and stuff. And then I was like, I forgot how slow Bulldog Breed 2 was. I mean, actually, that's a theme in this heat. I think apart from Stinger and Spikasaurus, every robot is not even Bigger Brother doesn't seem that fast in the series.
Bigger Brother can only go 10. It's like that's all right. This type of era.
Yeah, it's all right, but it doesn't really show it very often. That's the problem. But then you have these.
It kind of amazed me watching the first group battle with Bulldog Breed. Just Stinger and Spikasaurus. I think it was the Stinger and Spikasaurus with it. They're all over the entire arena, and Bulldog Breed never left the one corner.
It just waited all for the robots to run into it and then flipped them.
And that's why I would think when we get to the battles, there's one robot shouldn't have been eliminated, and Bulldog Breed should have. Honestly,
it wasn't Bulldog Breed, I think, but. Well,
but anyway.
It depends on how you want to interpret things, but yeah.
Also, R.I.P. the giant Bulldog design, because in Series 5 onwards they go for just the head, and it's not.
Series 5 has the dog on it.
Does it? I mean,
it's 6 and 7 that just has the head.
Oh, it's 6 and 7, yeah. Because I mean, I love the full body carrying the weights and stuff.
But yeah, there's so many things wrong with the Bulldog Breed. I mean, one, the shape for a flipper is just completely wrong. I mean, they must have looked at Chaos 2 and thought, right, we need to make it a pyramid shape.
It's literally like Chaos 2, like right down to the polycarb back and the metal side.
But the thing is, like, it's kind of wrong for a flipper, because a flipper needs to have more of a rounded edge to self-right, which Chaos 2 has. Bulldog Breed is just a flat one, and also has a spike at the end. So even if they tried to self-right, it would just dig into the ground and stop them self-righting.
Also, the most important feature of the flipper is that it doesn't actually touch the ground properly. It was just looking at all this. I mean, it occasionally touches the ground, like when it would tap Bigger Brother, but then sometimes it'll just stay up. I mean, the amount of times
it's a robot that got to its heat final through sheer luck.
I mean, the amount of times its flipper stayed open, even its opening battle shouldn't just chopped right through it. It was a relatively badly made robot in Series 4 compared to Series 5 onwards. It was.
But it finally gets the dog breed finally gets good next series.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of times you have to keep saying, even you first see it in Extreme 1 at least, you actually get to see it do something in Extreme at least, but it's definitely a robot that eventually does, at least it does eventually get
The only problem
somewhere.
with Series 5 Bulldog Breed is they can't drive it.
I can tell.
It has the problem that Panic Attack has, where it just spins when they try to turn it. But
It's very out of control at times.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we get to probably one of the more unluckier seeds of the series, of course. It is Bigger Brother. The first incarnation of Bigger Brother, but not...
The worst incarnation of Bigger Brother. Honestly, there's an argument to be made that Big Brother is better than Bigger Brother. This version, I mean.
Well, in fairness, this was their first time making the flipper, so there are problems. I mean, the flipper was definitely not as powerful as it was in Series 5 onwards. And also, it kind of broke.
Yeah.
I mean, it could even flip over Hammer and Tong, and that thing's mostly polycarb, so...
It got stuck in Hammer and Tong.
Yeah, the spike always seemed to get in the way in the series, didn't it? Like, I mean, it took 3 attempts to flip over Claude Hopper, and that thing just rolls over.
Which is also one of my favourite Jonathan Pierce moments, is where little Joe goes, I've tested Bigger Brother's spikes with my thumb, so I know they're good. And Jonathan Pierce goes, well, this is the most deadliest weapon we've ever seen on Robot Wars then. If little Joe's tested it with his thumb...
I love a bit of sarcasm at the kids occasionally.
Jonathan Pierce really just like there's in the fight when they lose to Bulldog Breed, he just keeps on going about like, oh, it's okay, look, we're gonna destroy your robot, Joe, we're gonna destroy it. It's unfair, isn't it? But we're gonna destroy it.
Also, I don't know if it's me or not. I'm looking at a picture of the original Bigger Brother, and it looks like it's made out of wood from a distance, like the way it's coloured, compared to the later series where it gets a bit darker and like the kind of blacker brown, I suppose, the kind of light brown.
Actually, I don't
It
know.
almost kind of does. It's kind of like a runny poo brown.
Yeah, it pretty much is.
And then, I mean, it's. I think what they wanted to do was because it's kind of that same color, just a little bit darker in Series 5. Was they wanted to make it look very grungy and more like, it's kind of like something. It's supposed to look like, something that comes out of a scrapyard.
I mean, in fairness though, you do get to see it in the tag team terror thing later, so it's all worth it for that. In fairness,
does its flipper work better?
It at least flips robots over. So
well, I mean that is better, I guess.
That is better.
Yeah. But then you get to Series 5 Bigger Brother, which becomes Little Sister in BattleBots. But that Series 5 Bigger Brother is so much better.
I mean, have you recorded the tag team terror yet?
I have not.
So
no.
Let's just say that Bigger Brother is on the opposing team of Scorpion, so that's going to be fun.
Yeah, that sounds like it.
It's as fun as you expect. And also,
actually, that's an episode that starts a mini rivalry. It's really a small rivalry, but it's Bigger Brother versus Firestorm, because they fight each other a few times.
It wasn't as prominent as the Panic Attack rivalry, which Panic Attack can never seem to get the upper hand on. But
Firestorm has a few rivalries. Actually, thinking about it, because he also has a rivalry with Razor
and a faux rivalry with Deator as well,
and Hypnodisc.
It's got a lot of rivalries.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just obviously from Series 5 or Extreme 1 and Series 5 onwards, Bigger Brother actually gets really good. But this series, it was definitely the first try at making this flipper, so it was kind of expected for it to not work as well. So. And
it went to BattleBots and it beat Mauler, but
Well, beat in the lightest terms.
Yeah. I just actually wonder because I'm pretty sure Bigger Brother in BattleBots in that series, in Series 2, was black. Like I think they must have painted it before in between, because it looked black to me in the episode I watched.
It might have.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell because of the differing lighting systems.
Yeah, probably. And then we get to one of these robots. You just think to yourself, how did this make it past the first round? Oh yeah, because Claude Hopper was in its battle. Hammer and Tong.
There you go. If you think Bulldog Breed is slow, get a load of this.
Right, this robot's so shit. At one point, Claude Hopper was pushing against it and winning. It couldn't beat Claude Hopper with little tiny spikes, and this thing's like it's got 6 wheels and doesn't use any of them.
And it has 6 motors,
including some leaf blower motors, which are really prominent in the front, which makes it look even more menacing. And it's as you described, Alex, in the when we were talking about Small Talk earlier. It's a very 2000s robot with all the polycarb all over it, and
polycarb and see-through. Like it's kind of, I've always just think that the 2000 era was like the beginning was like, oh, we're starting to get some good technology to build robots now, so let's just screw it up.
The only thing I can praise Hammer and Tong for, which makes it a 1 out of 10 at least, is the unique axe spike thing they had going, which I think is actually an alright idea, but the thing is, again, it was on the worst robot possible.
But what I don't want to know is about the is like, because the spike goes down, basically it hits the ground and it's like just sort of folds in to create the flipper. How is that supposed to work as an axe? Because if it just hits anything, when it just folds in. I think if it hits, I think what it does is it acts as an axe when it's going down, but then when it goes to the floor, it bends in and makes a flipper. So it's a flipper going up, but it's an axe going down. So because there are a few points in the series where it does tries to attack a robot, and you can see the axe doesn't bend until it gets to the floor. So it's one of those robots that looks better than it is. It really does.
It really does. Like, you look at this and you think, that is a really cool weapon idea. It's really robust and well built, the weapon is. The base of the robot looks good and solid. Mm-hmm. And then they ran it with strimmer motors.
And leaf, yeah.
I remember your face, Mike, when you saw initially seeing Hammer and Tong, and then you saw it in battle and how slow it was. It was.
Yeah, it's such a good idea on paper, and then they just threw all the paper in the garbage and went good enough.
They really could have made a decent. I mean, they tried in Series 5 and didn't get in, so I have no idea what the Hammer and Tong 2 even looked like. There's no pictures of it, but I really hope they made at least go 5 miles an hour. I mean, this thing
is this not counting Walkers, the slowest robot of the series?
Of Series 4, you mean?
Yeah.
Possibly. I mean, the creature.
It's in contention with Little Fly, which Little Fly can only go 4 miles an hour, which just is unforgivable for me.
Well, actually, also possibly the creature as well, because even though they say it could go 10, 15 miles an hour, it didn't really go that fast at all. But
yeah, there's a big difference between declared speeds and the speeds they actually made.
I mean, the Smidsy team said to Julia, Smidsy went 70 miles an hour, but that was when it was in the car driving here.
Oh, I mean, I know it's from years ago. The most egregious example was the Blob. So it can go 15 miles an hour, and it went like 3 because the shell was too heavy for it to go faster than it could.
Or Shadow of Napalm, what they say could go 15 miles an hour.
Bullshit. Yeah, that thing barely clocked 4.
If Shadow of Napalm could go 15 miles an hour, if it hit a wall, it would kill itself.
No, if Napalm could go 15 miles an hour, I will declare Wheelosaurus the winner of Series 4. My God. But yeah, Hammer and Tong is definitely a robot that, if it was put in a more capable hands, it could have been at least a passable robot with a unique design, for the weapon. But here it's just useless.
And it's another case of like showing like this is that's the thing what I say about 2000 robots is like the technology's starting to get there, but the teams are still just doing weird ideas. I mean, or just making something with like how much empty space is in Hammer and Tong.
A lot. Although definitely it's not in my contention for the piece to shit award, because at least it moved, unlike Iron Ore. I don't think it only moved in the Celebrity Special, and that was it. So that doesn't count. And then we go to a robot I think was very unlucky. Not if it was another 3-way melee, it could have easily made it to the second round at least. Was definitely was Spikasaurus. Now I have to say this robot did get quite unlucky in the sense that they appeared in the pinball first, which was the worst pinball run. I mean, what a great debut for a robot to show him do nothing in a pinball run the entire time, and then out of nowhere, just darting across the arena.
It was so quick. That's like 70 miles an hour. So it's the fastest in the heat. But that's no real claim. But anyway, yeah, it's the fastest in the heat, and it looks. I think it looks really great.
It's weird to think because Tornado is actually slower than Spikasaurus. I think isn't it like 10 miles an hour?
Yeah, they say Tornado can only go 10 miles an hour. I'm actually going to call bullshit on that because it goes. I think it goes slower because I think it goes faster.
I mean, those spikes on Spikasaurus really actually look. I mean, they're quite prominent. I mean, they actually got stuck in the wall at one point. That's how good they were. And I mean, I think honestly their biggest problem was honestly the lack of control. I think that was the only thing that killed.
It was too fast for its own good.
Which is why I can see why they went out in the first round, because it was a bit like Rambot, wasn't it? The only times it ever got into the action was when it happened to run into the same path as everyone else, as opposed to making a controlled hit, which is sort of what Stinger did. But at least Stinger had more control. It was a little slower, so it was able to drive better.
I want to ask, actually, here's a question, you and Jay. Do you think if Spikasaurus didn't get eliminated, could it have won the heat?
I think it could have got heat final at least. I think it would have beaten Hammer and Tong. It would have gone against Hammer and Tong if it replaced Stinger. So, I mean, let's face it, anything could beat Hammer and Tong. And then Bulldog Breed, if it was in the heat final, I'm not sure, but I think it could have had a good go at least. I mean, it could have got a lucky hit maybe on the side, but I think if it wasn't a heat winner, I think at least heat finalist. What do you think about Spikasaurus, Mike?
So Spikasaurus kind of checks all the boxes for something that I like in a robot. It's fast, it's really aggressive, it does reasonable amounts of damage, even though it's just a static spike. It really does reasonable amounts of damage for a spike. I was really impressed watching it pinball around the arena and take out anything in its way. I was kind of disappointed that it was eliminated because I felt that Stinger just kind of was there.
Yeah.
And knowing that damage is kind of weighted higher than anything, I've kind of assumed that Spikasaurus was at least going to go through on that. But
it's not the less you've seen of Spikasaurus because it's in the Northern Annihilator. So
And you'll definitely enjoy it in that.
well, that's nice.
Also,
actually, it gets a rematch with Stinger. Just thinking about it.
Also, yeah, it's the only truly northern robot in the Northern Annihilator as well. Pretty
But it's
much.
such a shame they never return after this.
Yeah, they never enter again. Actually, they did appear in Series 3, but it was an event that got cancelled, so which is a bit of a shame.
That's kind of a theme for this series, is teams not coming back.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
Series 3 is the worst for it, but yeah, Series 4 is still the case. Yeah.
actually, also fun fact about Spikasaurus, they had a little message on the bottom saying FUBAR, which stands for Fouled Up Beyond All Recognition. So there you go.
Yes, because that is the correct F word for that sentence.
Fubar, as it spells out. But yeah, I mean, they never actually. The original concept for Spikasaurus, it's on the wiki. It's like a dome thing with just tons of spikes sticking out. It looks like a really
You mentioned Dome, and I get flashbacks.
Oh yeah, you haven't seen. Oh yeah, until you see Dome, Mike, you've never seen a robot so rubbish. I've just realised.
Yeah.
Ugh. But yeah, it's a weird like dome-looking thing, and it's like. I'm so glad I went with this. In all honesty, this robot is so much better.
So was the original Spikasaurus supposed to be like a terrapin sort of design?
No, I think it's like basically it's just a dome with loads of spikes sticking out of it, like a little angry face on it, like a kind of insect-looking thing. I think it looks like it possibly had a chainsaw on the back.
Cactus spot, basically.
Yeah, pretty much cactus spot. But actually, it's funny seeing a picture of Spikasaurus after the Northern Annihilator, how much battered it looks compared to the originals in the main series. It's just like it looks like it's been caved in. After all,
that's why again Battlebot. That's why I prefer the Annihilator to a Rumble, because while the Rumble has tons of robots in it, Annihilator is more. It's an endurance test than just one massive fight.
Only the most durable robots survive. Hence why. In some Annihilators, you get reams of robots just like dropping out, like just because they just couldn't survive how far they could go throughout the battle.
Annihilators is very limited. Like, was it like an hour repair time? I think.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, it's why some teams just had to drop out because they just couldn't. They just couldn't continue the fight because it was just that brutal. But Spikasaurus. I mean, not gonna spoil anything, obviously. But Spikasaurus, you do get to see Spikasaurus again at least, which is fun. So and it does its normal, out of control stabbiness.
Kind of reminds me of that stabby robot Roberto from Futurama.
Oh yeah.
just swinging around wildly and not caring what it stabs.
That's actually quite a good analogy. Actually, now I think about it. Also, it's nice to get a Futurama reference for a change. And then finally, we have the robot that I've said before I've had a weird fascination with, even though I have no idea what the point of it is, obviously, but it's fun. I mean, you get to see it as a giant shoe later. It is this Claude Hopper, aka Clod Hopper from Techno Games. I love Claude Hopper. I think the reason, again, I mentioned it. I'll briefly say why again. I think it's because it's the fact that it's actually quite a stable walker for its time, considering the fact that most walkers like Jim Struts or Miss Struts or
Jim Struts had a problem of falling over.
Yeah, and Miss Struts just kind of stuttered around as opposed to, it didn't really strut, it more just kind of staggered. While Claude Hopper was the first one. I mean, obviously Millennium Bug has an okay movement later, but I think Claude Hopper was the first walker to able to go in a straight line reliably without having to like.
It's also the loudest robot ever made.
Oh no!
Forget Carbide, forget Hypnodiscs. They're death on. No, Claude Hopper has 4 car starter motors in it.
Hey, mate! You've forgotten about Juggernaut 2, Monad, and Tip Top from Series 5. We all use petrol engines. Those things drown out Jonathan Pierce in Series 5. But Claude Hopper, at least, again, it's actually quite a stable walker, and they actually also thought about maneuverability, having that little panel at the bottom which turns it around, which is a really good idea, considering that a lot of walkers can't, well, let's face it, they can't turn around at all.
Which makes me wonder why it wasn't like a sit and spin kind of, like, they didn't make it like sort of like a sit and spin full body spinner sort of thing. Like just walked somewhere, sit, start spinning.
I guess the reason why was because I guess maybe it just didn't really. They wanted to show off the walking as opposed to the spinning, I guess. I mean, let's face it. I mean, Claude Hopper in this series was less than 140 kilograms, as opposed to Series 5, where he was able to get to a full 200. and it just and all they would just add spinners on the side of it and make it just beefed up and green.
And giant roll hoops. Like, yeah, it's like Claude Hopper looked just like, Claude Hopper 2 is like, do you even lift, bro?
I do love the quote from John Pearce in Gen 5 in Series 5. It says, "It'll take by the time Claude Hopper's got to the end of the arena, Haley's Comet will have come by." It's so fun watching. I mean,
Jonathan, that's the thing. Like, Jonathan says, like, he said, like, they're his favorite type of robot are the walkers.
They give you the most fun.
Yeah.
I mean,
the walkers are so much fun to watch, and either Robot Wars or the American shows like BattleBots, because there's so much cool engineering that goes into it. Like Claude Hopper's little platform that it spins around on, like that is such a genius little device to not have to totally re-engineer their whole walking system to make it turn.
Actually, the funny thing is, actually, I'm not joking. There actually was a robot in Series 2 that used the same mechanism. It was Leebot 2.0, Leviathan, actually had a wheel in the middle as well that allowed it to spin. Although it was kind of pointless, it was a 4-wheel drive, so I don't know why it needed that 5th wheel, but Claude Hopper makes more use of it. But also, there's one quote by JP in next series as well. In its fight against, I keep mentioning it, Twister. It's like a running theme with my reviews.
Take a shot. He mentioned Twister.
I think it's got to be. But in its fight against Twister in Series 5, like he makes a good point saying, "I love how the non-walkers tackle a walker. Like they don't know how to attack it because you don't."
Well, one of my favorites also is like, Claude Hopper's coming into an attack. Oh, and again.
Or you could be Typhoon too. You could be Typhoon and Hypnodist and just rip the legs off. So
yeah,
that's also a viable option. But I mean, Claude Hopper, actually, that's the benefit I think Claude Hopper has the most. Is it's really durable for the fact it doesn't have legs mechanisms. Because I mean, Dead Metal sawed through it and it was still able to move really easily. I mean, they're solid.
It's basically just, in a way, it's kind of a shuffle bot.
It kind of is. I mean, it's more based on like gears and wheels as opposed to like legs. I mean, it's almost like a walkabout on its side. In a way, like the legs are going horizontally as opposed to vertically, but it makes it a lot more durable as a result. And he's able to survive in Series 5 quite easily. So, I mean, let's face it. The only reason it lost here is it got flipped over. It wasn't because it got damaged or anything.
Yeah, like literally a domed shell over the top, like the Morgue or something would have been fine in its opening battle.
That's what gets me. Claude Hopper, like the weight limits in the rules were a walker can be twice the weight of a wheeled robot, and it's only 100. Claude Hopper's at only 130 kilos when they could have they could make it 160.
Maybe it was just limitation for the first design. Maybe. I mean, at least the Series 5 version gets little roll bars later. I mean, it doesn't give me a chance to use them, but yeah, they thought ahead this time because they did lose by flipping this series.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all the robots in this heat, and then we'll get to the battles, of course. The first one being Bigger Brother versus Claude Hopper versus Hammer and Tong, and
no, isn't it?
No, it's done. This is the first battle. I watched the heat before. This actually is the first battle.
Oh.
And I swear, Bigger Brother's got like afflicted with these two robots really slow speed because Bigger Brother barely moves as fast as Hammer and Tong in this heat as well.
What I don't get is because usually Bigger Brother, Ian Watts drives Bigger Brother very aggressively. In this one, Bigger Brother, this is probably the only fight where Bigger Brother is basically just hanging back.
Yeah, I have no idea why they just did little jabs at Claude Hopper as opposed to flipping them right over, like in one go. Maybe they just wanted the fight to last longer. I don't know. Maybe because it use a new design. But my favorite moment was actually there's two moments. But my first favorite was when the first flip on Claude Hopper, where it kind of staggers on its side. It just gets stuck on its side.
It's kind of like if it's a guy. It's like kind of like if a guy's drunk and you just see them staggering, like walking. He's like, oh, no, I'm good.
I mean, as you're saying this, I'm currently looking at a GIF on it on the wiki. It is priceless. But the other bit I loved when it was fully flipped over and its legs you saw how fast the legs could actually go, and it just went really fast. Just trying to. I mean, there's something pathetic about a walker on its back. I mean, later on, the most pathetic sight is probably Millennium Bug on its back with its little legs moving. But
probably my favorite part of that whole image of Claude Hopper's legs flailing wildly is what it did to Dead Metal's saw when it was trying to cut through it while the legs are flopping around.
They probably did some serious damage.
Watching Dead Metal just shake about from it was great.
Because Deadmetal was basically just being repeatedly kicked in the face.
It pretty much was. It was like lashing out, trying to make sure it didn't get attacked at all. I mean, let's face it, if Clawed Hopper wasn't such an easy target, let's face it, Hammer and Tong would have been so picked on. If it was a stronger if like Clawed Hopper was replaced by Spikasaurus or Bulldog breed,
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine how badly Hammer and Tong would have got attacked. But obviously, because Clawed Hopper's the easiest target to take out, it was just kind of inevitable they were going to get flipped over. Although, was one thing I find absolutely bullshit, which really annoyed me, was I remember on the original airing of this episode, there was a week gap between the episodes because there was something on the Friday night before.
Probably golf.
It was golf, some sporting event, maybe like a Eurovision or something like that. But it was on, and I couldn't watch it. And then they showed the preview of it, and they spoilt the batch in the preview. It's not as bad in Series 7. When in Series 7, every heat starts.
Series 6 and 7, they just show who's going through, basically.
Literally, they show it in the first 5 minutes of the heat. So I'd probably advise you watching those heats, just skip the first 5 minutes of the heat if you don't want to see the little spoiler bit at the beginning. I mean,
they do basically a preview. This is what's happening in this heat.
Seriously, they'll show like battles from like the second round, and it basically shows you who's got through the first round. It's like, what's the point of watching the heat then? And then, but yeah, in this heat, the preview clip they show for this heat is Bigger Brother flipping over Clawed Hopper. It's like, why would you show that?
To be honest, that's probably the only interesting thing that happens in this damn heat.
Oh yeah, they could have shown like Spikasaurus as that little battle or something, as opposed to, or just show like a random clip from Series 3 like they did with like we did with Firestorm's heat. They showed the heat final from their heat, just didn't spoil anything. But I mean, in fairness, this whole battle was we've talked about it longer than the battle actually lasted.
I mean, again, to finish off with one of my favorite JP quotes is when the Bigger Brothers lifted up Hammer and Tong, and Jonathan Pierce like, That's it, Bigger Brother. Take on Hammer and Tong. Today the arena, Joe. Tomorrow the world.
It was so funny how JP was just like totally focused on Joe specifically in the fights that Bigger Brother was in. Forget Ian. Forget the other robots. Talk to Joe.
Wait till Ellie joins the team.
Oh yeah.
Oh my.
That'll be fun. Well, fun in some aspects. No, well, actually, there's no fun at all. I just realised.
Yeah. Do you not like Ellie?
I don't know. I think it's alright, but I think she cried a bit too much for my liking. Like, I mean, Joe didn't in comparison. That's what I mean. It wasn't as bad as the hippopotamus person from.
Yeah. Who tried to kill when Stinger gave them the present of the cardboard Stinger pole, tried to attack them with it.
Tried to attack them all because their plastic sandpit got broken up. Oh no! What do you expect? And then, of course, the probably the best battle of this heat on us. Let's face it, is Stinger, Bulldog Breed 2, and Spikasaurus. I mean, this is the thing, right? Do you think that Spikasaurus should have gone out, or do you think it should have been Stinger or Bulldog Breed instead?
I think it should have been Bulldog Breed that should have gone out because, yes, Stinger was basically just driving out Bowser a bit, but at least it was doing something. Like, it was coming in, it was trying to attack, it was being aggressive. Bulldog Breed just basically stayed in one part of the arena for the entire fight and only really got a chance to do something when a robot came to it. It didn't go to a robot came to it.
See, I would argue Stinger would go out because it landed, maybe one hit with its weapon during the entire 5 minutes of the fight. It spent the whole time not even able to get back on its wheels. Spikasaurus was uncontrollable, but at least it was stabbing the heck out of the other robots, and Bulldog Breed tossed both of its opponents so many times.
For me, I think it's definitely... I think it was Stinger as well, because I think Bulldog Breed didn't really move across the arena as much. It at least used its weapon effectively, so, flipping over Spikasaurus a few times, flipping over flicking Stinger a few times away as well. And I just think Stinger most of the time just spent the whole match just spinning around in circles and not being in the action at all. I mean, Bulldog Breed wasn't actually, actively getting into the action, but it was always at least doing something when it was getting attacked. It wasn't just, even when Stinger got into the action, it just sat there and then started spinning again and didn't actually. Partially because of the control.
I don't think they figured out in that fight that Stinger is best and is a better twackbot when it spins around than an overhead twackbot.
Yeah, At least they're definitely both.
It was pretty clear for Stinger that they were still trying to figure out how to drive the thing. I mean, at one point it was balanced perfectly on its side, and it just spanned there like a top for a minute or so.
Yeah,
that's pretty much the Stinger way, just randomness, with its controls. But
the problem with Stinger is also they had that kind of that bar thing which they get rid of next series. The bar thing at the bottom of the one, which didn't really do anything. It wasn't really needed.
It just got in the way a lot of the time, as opposed to doing anything. But at least we're both in agreement that Spikasaurus definitely got a bit of the kind of got gypped really.
Yeah, to quote Bolt from the blue team, why did they get through? Because they're seeded.
I wouldn't say in this case. I mean, it's more the case. I think maybe just the judges thought their control was a bit like Rambot. It was more out of control. Although, in fairness, in that battle, Rambot was more clearly the one who was the one more clearly eliminated. But in this one, it is more of like I love that. I love there's now an argument for all 3 robots to be eliminated.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. I'm okay with Spikasaurus being eliminated on the control aspect because it was so badly out of control it damaged itself.
It nearly eliminated itself by getting its spikes stuck in the arena wall.
Yeah, but it was what was I trying to say? I'm under the impression that damage was weighted more highly than the other categories like control or style, and so I see that Spikasaurus did the most damage, and I think, well, clearly it didn't do the least.
I mean, there were some points in the match where actually Spikasaurus got impaled in Stinger's tires and dragged Stinger around.
From what I remember about the judging from the original series, it was damage, then aggression, then control, and then style.
I still don't get style. I think I can tell that. There's a reason why they got rid of style.
Yeah,
but
what you also say about the damage thing about Spikasaurus causing some damage, it also actually got quite a bit of damage given to it as well.
Yeah, and also it also did inflict itself some damage because when it got stuck in the wall, you actually did see one of the spikes was bent backwards by it running into the wall, or just from it just. I don't know if that was caused by hitting a robot as well, but.
I think in the pits they were showing that they knocked off 1 or 2 of their armor panels in the front as well.
Yeah. I think
and the self-righting bar was hooped, which also, if the clock ran down, also nearly got them eliminated because 1 point Bulldog Bree just flipped them over and they just got stuck on their back.
It was right near the end of the battle, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for Stinger hitting them, they would have got stuck on the side because their roll bar got bent. But either way,
there's a case for every robot going through and every robot being eliminated.
It's just a shame that Spikasaurus had to be the one that got eliminated. I wanted to see more of them in the heat, but I'm just saying this. I wanted to see Hammer and Tong get completely spiked by it, but.
Look at the alternative. Can you imagine Stinger not making it through and what that would do for the rest of Series 4?
Well, in that case, Panic Attack would probably be in the grand final, potentially.
Yeah, it would have been Panic Attack versus Chaos 2, most likely. Or actually, no. I wonder how that would have gone. Because the way they drawed it was kind of weird. Like, they had... Yeah, anyway.
That is an argument for a future semi-final and grand final.
And a certain show that might be coming out soon.
Oh yes, of course.
No spoilers.
No spoiling anything. And also, you only have the one side event because, as I said last time, they just randomly got rid of the sumo because they realized how.
Seriously, why didn't they come up with another event? Or have 32 people do sumo.
They could have had a football event. Actually, Spikasaurus actually brought a bumper for football in case.
Yeah.
Which is funny because they never actually got around to using it, but. They could have football. They could have had a lightweight event. They could have had some
anything.
A random vengeance battle, something, but I don't know.
Yeah, they're just 5 minutes. Oh, we got to kill 5 minutes now.
I mean, speaking of killing 5 minutes, looking at Razor's running this in the pinball, it was just they weren't even trying.
They gave up and decided let's just attack Kill a Lot.
I mean, all they got was the barrels, the 50-point target, and the door, and then they failed to get because they tried to get the 75-point target. They failed from so Kill a Lot was right in the way. So they thought we'll just attack his little wires and stuff because why not? And it's a funny image seeing Razor just hanging on to Kill a Lot as he's spinning around obviously trying to get him off.
Yeah. That's
a little bit like a little kid hanging on to some guy's arm, just like, no, go away.
Yeah.
No, I know exactly what it's like. It's like when a kid just wraps himself around the dad's leg.
It's like, no, I'm not.
Yes.
I'm not going. Actually, the funny thing is, if it wasn't for that 50-point target, they would have a really, really terrible score.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the only reason they managed to get 95 points. Like, without that, it would have been just barely above Spikasaurus' level. But
Yeah.
I mean, in fact, it was quite. I mean, apart from the cursed circle thing, it was a pretty boring pinball run. I mean, it's weird considering they were technically reigning pinball champions. It was kind of weird they just decided to not do anything. But
Yeah.
although,
Hey, at least the producers didn't hand them the award this time.
no, and also to the team's credit, I love what for some reason Vinny Blood was just covered in tinfoil.
Did they literally just say, "Oh, there's tinfoil here. Here, Vinny, put this around your head"?
I don't know what I mean, because especially in the early days of Robot Wars, a lot of times they used tinfoil to cover up electronics and stuff. So maybe they just had some lying around and just throw it in your face. Because I mean, let's face it, they couldn't top Series 3, whatever the hell they decided to dress up as in Series 3. You could tell they were just in it for the fun of it at that point.
And then Series 5 onwards is when the team's dressing up really gets into gear.
Oh, there's some great costumes in Series 5 onwards. Let's say that.
Yeah.
But
I think also in American Robot Wars, every team is dressed up.
Although I think I showed you that one, Mike, the Dutch entry called Blue. That was basically just the Blue Man group.
Yes.
That's still one of my favorites.
Oh god, one of the creepiest one is Agrobot Series 7.
Oh, yeah. Actually, no. Remember Tridentate? From Series 6. There's one guy, he's wearing this weird, like, white mask thing or whatever it is. It's creepy when you see it. But, yeah,
And also there's the Stag team, we just have a helmet with circuit boards on it.
Actually, I mean, you can tell, it almost feels like the guy, I forgot, is it Paul Cottrell from the Ming team?
I think so.
Yeah, but by the time he got to Series 6 and 7, he looks like a mental breakdown. He really does the way he just goes full out, I'm just going to become a pantomime villain. Pretty much.
He basically becomes the Flash Gordon villain.
Yeah, because he enters two robots in Series 7. He dresses as a Flash Gordon villain in one and Zorro in the other. Because his robot's called Zorro, so I guess he had the cape and the mustache and everything. It's... He goes all out, let's say that.
Yeah.
Back to the actual battles, of course. The first battle was Bigger Brother versus Bulldog Breed 2, and, of course, Bigger Brother's flipper just decides to shit itself and not work.
Yeah, just a gas leak. What is it with flippers? Just every now and then, one like a really powerful flipper, something will break on it.
I don't know. I mean, it just like right at the beginning of the battle, after the first attempts at flipping, the valve just broke on it, and you can just see the gas pouring out of Bigger Brother, and all it took was Bulldog Breed to get one simple flip on them, and they couldn't do anything else about it. It was... for
somebody building their first flipper, you kind of almost expect a catastrophic failure of it at some point.
If catastrophic failures go, wait till Spawn again in Series 7. Oh, that goes up in flames.
I was gonna say, Spawn again in Series 7 was definitely the worst example of gas exploding. So that's fun. But yeah, this one was definitely quite a simple victory. Also, I loved, again, as we mentioned before about Jonathan Pierce, talking specifically about Joe Watts. I loved the bit. It was like he just giving like a little life lesson about.
It's a life lesson for your son. Well, I'd also say this is a clearly very it's clearly a very edited fight as well.
Yeah, I mean, not much really happened in the fight.
Yeah,
but actually, I mean, I did love the. Actually, I did love the fact that, as usual, Joe Watts really can take a loss pretty well. Like, I mean, when you see him like in the pod, he almost looks like he's gonna. You think, oh, he's not gonna start crying, is he? And then he's into the interview afterwards, and he's like, I'm fine. I'll come back next year.
Yeah, but he does shout at his dad, saying, "Dad, this isn't fair."
But I think he got over it pretty quickly, though. In fairness, I mean, in fairness, Joe Watts was always usually pretty good when it came to Robot.
Joe Watts has taken losses better than most adults in Robot Wars.
He took them better than the entire Bolt from the blue team, so...
They are still pissed off about that.
The cake. I mean, if you're not sure what I'm talking about, I mean, very recently, I think it was the wife of one of the guys on the team, he was apparently still bitter from this day, the Bolt from the blue guy, so for his birthday cake, she made a Bolt from the blue cake saying, still bitter. That's just that. I mean, if your wife's trolling you, there's something wrong with you. There really is. If you're getting that petty about it. I mean, what is it? It's like 17 years ago. Get over it. Seriously.
So, getting back to this fight, guys, I'm kind of curious if Bigger Brother did not break down, how do you think this fight would have went?
Bigger Brother probably would have just been really, really aggressive. I don't know if they would have been able to flip
I don't.
Bulldog breed over because it's a really awkward design and Bigger Brother's flipper isn't that powerful.
No, I don't think it would have flipped him over. I think maybe what might have happened is maybe, I think maybe they would have won Bigger Brother might have won an aggression, or maybe Bulldog breed might have got a lucky flip and like got him, or something. I don't know. It's kind of in the air really, but in Bigger Brothers, I mean, if this was Series 5, it would be a much better fight. Let's face it, between these two.
No contest, really.
It would be no contest, but at least it would have been more of a fight than this. I mean, yeah, there's not much else to say about this. It's just one bad, gas leak and then a flip. That's the fight, folks.
And then actually, what I said also, this is the last part with the house robots trying to get Bigger Brother in the pit. Like at one point, he got stuck on Sergeant Bass's claw. Then Kilowatt came in to try and remove him from Sergeant Bass's claw, and then just at the end, Shunt just came and was like, "Oh fuck it, I'll do it."
It's the appropriate thing to have like the Benny Hill theme song in the back. It really, it was worthy of that. And of course, the second
well, it's one of my favorite quotes of yours, Mike. Mike is like, "Here, have the functioning alcoholic Shunt do it."
Yeah, pretty much. Shunt is good for that.
He's clean since Series 4. I mean,
alcoholism and robots is not a laughing matter.
I mean, just watch me in The King of the Castle in Series 2.
Yeah.
He just drives straight off the ramp.
He's sobered up a lot since Series 2, so...
I think personally when Series 5 and all the robots got like a little bit of an upgrade, and particularly Matilda got an upgrade, and a lot of the house robots kind of got more aggressive. I think he definitely sobered up from there. He learned he learned what was the real point of life. It was hitting Banshee in the head. That was the...
Yes.
I mean, again, Shunt for some reason in 2 series has knocked off the heads of 3 robots, and I think he's got a thing. I think he hates the fact he hasn't got a head himself. He's looking at Sir Kill-a-Lot and going, I want a face.
Actually, I think he's the only of the original 5 that doesn't have a head.
Well, Dead Metal doesn't either.
Yes, he does. His saw blade is his head.
Like, yeah, he's kind of got eyes built into his saw blade thing.
Oh yeah, I suppose. Shun must feel really jealous right now.
Yeah, like even Growler and Cassius Chrome and Mr. Psycho had heads.
Yeah, I think he's taking out on Banshee, Atlas, and Major Tom particularly.
Yeah.
But then of course the next battle was Stinger versus Hammer and Tong, and
Stinger just beat it up.
I mean, Hammer and Tong died on its own.
It's the perfect thing for a twackbot, a large, slow-moving object.
I mean, you got to see Hammer and Tong's axe work occasionally, but it didn't. It was not going to do anything against Stinger. I mean, if it was faster, Hammer and Tong could have had a good go at this, but because it moved at like a snail's pace, I think it did the thing that Bulldog Breed did in its first battle, just spun around in a circle and watched Stinger try and hit it. And
yeah.
I mean, in fairness, I was quite surprised that Sir Kill-a-Lot was able to completely lift that robot up. I mean, it shows you how much empty space is.
He completely destroyed, he nearly cut right through Hammer and Tong when he picked it up with his claw.
I mean, it's made of plastic, so...
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of a no contest thing, wasn't it, really?
Yeah.
You cannot get a better, learn to drive a thwackbot battle than this. Stationary plastic object.
Yeah. And Stinger and Kill-a-Lot does what he always does: is basically pick up a robot and spin it around.
I mean, this is one of the fights they show when they show highlights of Stinger for a reason, because I think between this and the Heat final we'll get to, it does a lot of thwacking in these particular battles. I mean, it's done more than I think in any other in Series 5 and 6 and Extreme combined. I think than it does in these 2 battles, and that's the definition Stinger is how much whacking it does. And speaking of thwacking and Stinger and Heat finals, we have the Stinger versus Bulldog Breed 2 Heat final, and it was basically just slowly beating up. I mean, more and more gas was coming out a bit.
I think it wasn't. I think Stinger actually. I didn't think it was a mistake. Stinger actually broke something on Bulldog Breed's flipper.
Yeah, the flipper stayed open. It actually got some nice gashes on the side of the robot, and actually that final blow that actually eventually knocked out Bulldog Breed looks really hard. You actually see something flying out of the robot, like a little bit of shard of metal or something. Like it just coughed up something, and then it just spews smoke and gas, and it's just...
It was definitely something that Stinger did to Bulldog Breed, because you could just watch it cave in the side of Bulldog Breed throughout the battle, and it disabled one of its wheels at some point during all that, and...
Yeah.
It was like
It was kind of like the Monty Python battle with the Black Knight. You just cut off the arm, then the other arm, then the leg.
Yeah, first the armor, then the flipper, then the gas, and then the wheel, and then the entire robot. And he's still, I can see him even when he's upside down. Yeah, he's like, I'm not dead yet. I'm.
Tis but a scratch.
Oh, well, I'll see you in Series 7. Then we'll talk. Oh wait, you didn't get in Stinger, did you?
Well, I nearly got disqualified, but oh well.
Oh, they didn't they? I forgot.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a story for Series 7.
Yeah.
Don't worry, it didn't end up badly though. But actually, Series 7, I mean, seems like the series of arenas getting broken.
Arenas getting broken and teams just doing strange shit.
I'm not joking. There are I think I can think of at least 5 or 6 different occasions in Series 7 alone where the arena gets broken.
Yeah.
Just by.
So it's just like the modern series.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, they give Series 5 also Matilda. They give Matilda a flywheel which is 25 kilos, and they don't do anything to the walls, and she just keeps destroying it.
Actually, I'll say this is no spoilers of Series 10 because I know nothing about it, but I remember, Alex, you told me on the first day the arena got broken.
The first fight of Series 10 they recorded, the arena got broken.
What made me laugh is I remember you telling me like the robots that can be, and I'm not going to say any of them obviously because I can't, but you remember you were saying on say Facebook, I thought to myself, hopefully they've improved the arena this time, because looking at things like Aftershock and Cherub breaking it, you think, okay, fair enough, that's going to be fine. And literally on the first day, in the morning, like somewhere around midday, he just went, it's broken, and then he said, and it's broken again. It's broken again. And like, come on.
Well, there was one. I won't say which. Well, I can't spoil it, obviously, but there was one fight which the arena broke in 5 seconds, and they basically just restarted the entire match. Like 3 minutes. It wasn't. And when they did the interviews, they had to redo the interviews because the producer says it's like no, that fight didn't happen.
My God, I think it would have learned from Series 9, but. Apparently not.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the end of the day, Stinger just completely annihilated Bulldog
Let's
breed.
be honest. I mean, we might have a go at Stinger, like gripe on it, but it was the best robot in the heat.
It was the most durable robot. I'll say that.
Yeah.
I mean, did Stinger get a scratch on it this entire heat?
It got 2 holes in it from Spikasaurus, and that was it. And that was in the rubber, I think.
Actually, thinking about it, that the Spikasaurus could have very nearly taken out Stinger, because that's also where they hide that's where they keep the removable link as well, is in the rubber of the wheel.
Oh, that'd been bad.
It's like because it's a twackbot, it can't have it because basically everything's in the wheels. They can't have like a normal removable link. So basically, it's a cord that goes around both wheels.
Also, a fun fact because of this, Stinger is now the lowest seed to win a heat ever.
Yay.
And obviously, because nothing gets lower than seed 30 for the rest of the series, so they maintain that title probably forever, I imagine.
Yeah.
Unless they decide to make seed 30 even go back to seed to the new series, which I don't think they ever will.
Let's make every robot. Let's do a BattleBots and seed every robot.
Worm is seed number 1. Come on.
Clearly,
it's not Carbide, it's Worm.
Yeah.
But yes, that was Heat J, and honestly, when your second round melee is the best battle, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
Well, correction, like compared to Heat N, when your first round battle is good and none of the other battles can succeed it or even come close to it, then there's something wrong. So at least Heat N had some good battles afterwards. This was just boring. I mean, out of 10, I'd probably give it a solid 4.5.
I'll give it 3. We already know what Mike gave it.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just like after the opening battles, it was just Stinger beating up stationary objects.
I mean, not even the pinball was interesting. 'Cause it was Stinger just. I mean, it was Razor not even trying. So it's like, if the side event's not even trying,
yeah,
then what's the point of trying to care about this heat? Really?
This is a very much an episode you can just skip.
Or you can skip the next heat.
Oh God.
Heat K. Yes, of course, you are also in that heat, Alex.
It's funny, like Series 3 was my first series doing all this, and I got nothing but great episodes of Robot Wars.
And now
Now you're paying for it.
yeah, it's called Karma. Although you do get to decide the awards for Series 4, so
Yeah.
it's hit or miss. But yeah, Heat K is definitely the bottom of the barrel. Like I know it's at around Heat F it starts declining, and there are some okay heats in between, like Willy Big Cheese is one, and Splinter's
Wild
one.
Thing.
Well, yeah, I was Wild Thing on the other side of it as well, and then you get the kind of heats like Heat J we've just talked about, and then you get Heat K. And the funny thing is, I initially missed this episode. I had to watch it on the VHS I recorded because I went to a pantomime. I think I had so much. I think it feels like a farce. This really does.
Ooh, you missed a real wild. What was better, the pantomime or this?
Oh God, the pantomime. It was fucking Aladdin as well. Jesus. But I probably have no idea what I'm talking about, Mike. Do you?
I don't know, and I'm not sure if I care.
It's not really worth it. It's a kids thing, pretty much.
Yeah, clearly.
I mean, I was like 6 at the time of this, so.
Basically, a pantomime is a stage show with no budget.
Yeah, and really shitty jokes.
Yeah.
And I think parents only go there because the kids like it. But.
And really washed up actors in it.
Yeah, pretty much. But enough about pantomimes. Enough with unfortunately.
It's more interesting than any fucking robot in this heat.
That's true.
In the next heat.
Of course, we have the quote unquote heat winner, because I mean, let's face it, any of the heat, this thing would have been cannon fodder. But to its credit, it's not horrible.
It's a decent robot, let's be honest.
Yeah, Mousetrap. Oh, sorry, the Mousetrap, as they keep calling it. I have no idea why they keep calling it the Mousetrap.
They don't in Series 5. It's Mousetrap in Series 5, but
I blame Stuart for this one. Stuart's blamed for everything going wrong with names. But Mousetrap, I mean, again, it's an okay robot. I think just when you compare it to the rest of the semi-finals, you can see why it didn't get past the first round in the semi-finals. I mean, Stinger just beat it up.
I mean, it's a decent design. It's a pretty good wedge. It's a case of the electronics inside it aren't very good.
And it's a shame because in Series 5 they actually make it a little bit more potent, but they actually put like a proper blade on the series on it in series. I mean,
it actually is they really improve the reliability in Series 5.
Also, I'm not going to spoil what happens in the fight, Mike, obviously, but in one of their fights in Series 5, they actually put up a really good fight against their opponent, which could have beaten him in like 2 seconds. I think the full.
That sounds like a reasonable outcome to me, because Mousetrap, for being such a unique concept for a weapon, it's not that badly pulled off. I mean, it's not great, but it's not bad by any means.
I can certainly.
It's just not exciting.
I can certainly appreciate the ingenuity going. I mean, in fairness, every single one of these teams' robots these guys have made is unique. Mousetrap's the only robot they've made more than once. I mean, they make Mousetrap in Series 4, 5, and Extreme 1, and then they had Triterabot in Series 3, which actually lost to Evil Weevil, which is ironic now in this heat. But and then obviously they make Black and Blue, the really terrible Clusterbots in Series 7. And I'll give this team credit. While it's not the best robot in the world, I do appreciate Mousetrap for at least being okay.
I mean, it's a robot that you can. Its theming is absolutely perfect. It's spot on.
I mean, it's almost like Hard Cheese's evolution.
Yeah.
I mean, we eventually do see Hard Cheese's evolution in Series 5, and I kind of wish they hadn't done that.
Yeah.
But Viper.
01.
Oh yeah,
there was going to be a sequel to it.
Oh, dear God, we needed a sequel to Viper 01. The 2 miles an hour robot. But I mean, Mousetrap's a nice looking. It's a very nice looking. I mean, it's not the most interesting looking, but it has the unique gimmick of the Mousetrap. And again, in Series 5, they actually put a weapon on it. It's not just a bar.
Which I wonder was. It's basically. I just really. I do think Mousetrap. It's not a great robot, but it was a robot that it's not. It's a robot that. It's there. It's a heat winner. It gets seeded.
I'll be honest with you though. I prefer this robot winning over Evil Weevil 2 because I don't even like Evil Weevil the original. So
it's proof that Evil Weevil cannot be in a good episode of Robot Wars.
Never. I mean, the only time it appears in the decent ones is semi-final 2, and it dies to Hypnodisc. So.
It's in the grand final, but it's in the worst part of the grand final.
Yay. Good old Good old Kevin Pritchard.
Yeah.
Then of
Still
course,
can't believe, yeah, but yeah, we'll talk about yeah, and then the next robot is my contention for the piece of shit award of Series 4, Little Fly.
you have a vendetta against this robot, don't
I
you?
hate Little Fly is a Series 2 robot.
That's
It
pushing
really is. It's not far off.
It's such. I mean, it's a robot that it's only won its battles through sheer luck, not skill, not anything else, just sheer luck. It can only do 4 miles an hour, which I mean, again, Robo Pig can go 4 miles an hour, and I would say Robo Pig's a better robot than Little Fly. It's got Victor's weapon on it. It's just basically a lawnmower blade on it. And what annoys me most about it is the team genuinely thought they had a shot with this.
Did they?
Yes.
Oh man.
Probably the part about Little Fly that amuses me the most. Like, you know, as lower quality bots go, you know, at least they tried and the robot worked, but like they put a lawnmower blade on it, and when you think of lawnmower blades, you think of carrying a lot of energy and spinning quickly. It couldn't break a wooden desk that was Mousetrap.
No.
It just
Like-
and it was and they clearly, it just shows how level of in engineering was in it. They clearly left the actual. It was clearly just the motor for it, because if you notice, it hit like the clutch or something in it, because when it hit, it goes backwards a bit, like, you know, like it was like a flail or something like that. I don't know. It's just, and why is it called Little Fly? That's what I want to know.
Actually, also, Joe, it's even sadder. Do you know who they fought in their qualifier battle to get into the series?
Go on.
Millennium Bug. How fun must that battle have been to watch?
And you know that was a live show as well. Like the qualifying was a live show. It was Robot Wars live.
I'm so glad it was free at least.
Yeah.
Great.
Wow, even free, you would almost want your money back from that fight.
Like you should be entitled to take part of the arena with you.
Yeah, exactly.
And actually, I've seen the picture of Little Fly in qualifying. It looks better.
It's black. It's coloured black.
Like it's black and yellow. Which, why isn't it? Shouldn't it be called Little Bee? But why is it called? I just still don't get why is it called Little Fly. Where's the name? Where does the name come from?
Well, I was actually about to say it comes from their team's horse.
They shouldn't be allowed to have horses.
They shouldn't be allowed to have robots. I mean, speaking of robots that shouldn't exist but keeps coming back constantly, is I still love it though. Of course, it is something. The pile of junk which lasted less than 2 seconds last series actually lasts more than 2 seconds. It takes itself out this time, so that's good. And
this, behold, something's only win.
Yep, this is only win. Enjoy it while it lasts. I mean, it appears in Extreme 1 and Series 5 and still doesn't get a win.
And Series 6 and Extreme 2.
I actually forgot it appeared in Series 6. That's how much I've forgotten about it.
Yeah.
It's kind of a shame because something has such a beautiful aesthetic to it.
Yeah.
It's just not a good robot.
No. I mean, I do appreciate the fact they went in for a robot that just looks like a pile of junk, and they don't care, and they're completely fully aware and admit it. Yeah. And they don't act like their robot's gonna be a good robot. They just want to be there to show they can make a robot.
I love
cool.
Dig. Like Dig on the team. Like he's fully honest about his robot.
He knows it. I mean, he knows it's not a good robot, but he doesn't care. And again, it has that great Series 1 metal look to it.
Like I would see something in a Mad Max movie.
You really would.
It kind of has like a steampunk thing to it before steampunk was cool.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because in their match against Mousetrap, they were winning until the fateful moment where they
killed themselves the exact same way they killed themselves against Pitbull.
Actually, no. They didn't pin themselves to the floor in Pitbull. They just broke down.
What happened was they didn't pin themselves to the floor. What happens is, like, if you notice at the front of something, they have like these little Tong things. I don't know what they're for.
Yeah.
That are basically supposed to. Well, actually, I do know what they're for. They're supposed to basically push the axe back up so the robot doesn't get pinned. But in both cases with Pitbull and Mousetrap, when they go too fast, the axe fires forward. It lifts the robot up the ground, so the so the prongs go underneath the robot, lifting the wheels off the ground.
I mean, in later series, they actually get a saw, which looks a bit like makes it look even more like the Master than it should.
Yeah,
it's not as a blatant rip off.
It's not as good as the Master.
It's not as blatant a rip off as Xenomorph in Series 7, but I mean that one doesn't even try to make itself look subtle. And then we have a robot that contains a man who will be
A
on
champion winner in it. A man who never smiles.
Nope, it is, of course, Sam Smith from Tiberius, who later drives Carbide. You wouldn't believe it. I mean, in fairness, you do see some potential in the way he was driving Tiberius in Series 4, because he did actually have some good early-on driving skill, but it just...
Here's the thing, Tiberius is the best... I would say Tiberius is the best robot in this heat.
Well, yeah.
It certainly was far from the worst. It was it was really good. Even just as a wedge, it was one of the best robots in this heat.
Although, I've got to say, though, you know that kind of thing when you go from one series to the next, and you just it looks like the robot's just gone on steroids?
Yeah.
Looking at Tiberius from Tiberius 2 in Series 5.
And then Tiberius 3. And look at then, well, it's basically, it was Tiberius 4, but it's now called Photon Storm.
It is a really, really cool-looking Crusher.
Yeah.
And it just got very unlucky in its heats, really, because it definitely could have done well.
This was definitely a heat. Tiberius is like Smith. Well, actually, I'm not going to spoil that. No, I won't spoil that. But it's a robot that could have definitely done better than it did.
And of course, again, it contains Sam Smith, as you said, doesn't smile.
A man who never smiles.
And of course,
I don't think he even smiled when he won Robot Wars.
I am very happy right now with my championship.
Like I was generally thinking about posting that. There's just making it. You know, like you see those collage pictures, like happy, sad, amused, angry. It's just the same picture.
I mean, of course, Tiberius could have done well, but instead it does a razor or a kilohertz and gets stuck in forward drive. Of course.
Actually, no, it doesn't get forward. It doesn't get stuck in forward drive. It gets stuck turning left.
Oh, does it? I thought it was stuck. I thought it was forward.
No, because you can see, like, when it gets off the spike, it's just spinning in circle. It's just spinning on one wheel's just. It's not spinning on the spot. It's spinning in a circle.
So it looks even more pathetic.
Yeah.
Oh well. I mean, it was definitely a good robot. It just. Died. And then of course you have the infamous Evil Weevil 2, the highest seed to lose in the first round. And all because they didn't charge the battery properly. And obviously, I know when I've mentioned this, Sam sort of like quick to his defense, saying, "Well, you know, it's fair enough. You know, it's honest mistake. What can you do? You're seed number 12. You're not a throwaway robot. You're seed number 12. You're actually part of it.
It's not like you haven't. It's not like the first time you're doing this. You've been in 2 series.
One of which you're on the champions team. You should have at least, learnt some lessons and make sure your battery is fully charged. But
I still can't believe he gets panic attack in Series 7. They give him panic attack.
And don't worry, he does the job you expect. But I mean, this Evil Weevil thing again. This should have been Evil Weevil's heat. Let's face it. I mean,
seriously, I'm not gonna have a go at the guy, but he's clearly not a good robot. A roboteer, because I mean, like I said, he gets panic attack and decides, let's take the self-writer off it.
Also, I've got to say, I actually think it's a downgrade going from Series 3 to Series 4, because the Series 3 version was just basically what it was meant to be, just a massive robot, a little robot with massive lifting forks. In this one, the lifting forks are so far apart, so tiny, and it's got a stupid axe on it. Which, let's face it, is that axe going to do any damage?
No, it's a tapper basically. I mean, it's only fired. I don't think we always saw it only fired once.
Also, I don't know if you agree with me, Alex and Mike, but I think the paint job looks terrible. Going from Series 3 to Series 4.
I know what color it is. It's called Jewish gold.
Is it?
Yeah.
It looks so boring.
Wasn't there a gold panic attack at one point?
Series 6.
Series 6. Oh god.
We never talk about that.
We don't mention Series 6 panic attack.
No, it's like you never.
Evil Weevil kind of being a dollar store panic attack, kind of like already predetermined what was going to happen when panic attack went gold. We get a nice example of that here.
Yeah, it was called Panic Attack Gold, and it did anything but it wasn't a golden performance. And even King Davis admitted that Series 6 Panic Attack was shit.
It's even if your own creator admits it's terrible, there's something wrong with you. I mean, hence why for Series 7 you went back to the Series 5 design, but didn't get.
Like,
but
no,
he didn't
even
try.
in the Extreme 2, when he had that panic attack with him, he basically just entered the Series 5 one into Extreme 2. Like, nah, that's basically as good as it's gonna get.
Also, I've got to say, there's not. I think I was talking about pathetic sights earlier with like Millennium Bug on its back, but the picture on the wiki of Evil Weevil 2, when it's just a mobile next to the arena wall, it's like, here's your 12 seeds, folks. Dead battery.
This robot's considered better than Wheelie Big Cheese and
Exterminator, and even Kilohertz is better than this. Bloody.
Yeah.
I mean, I complain about Kilohertz and Stinger's seedings, but after this performance, I'm surprised that he managed to get top 20. I mean, Evil Weevil had one of the easiest runs. Actually, I'd probably argue it had the easiest run of any robot in Series 3. At least Blade sort of worked for it. Actually, Blade and Trident actually did work for their goal, while Evil Weevil got a triangular robot that got stuck on its side. They got the
worst twackbot ever made.
And a robot that didn't move at the end of it didn't move in its heat final. And then you wonder why it lost in the first round of the semi-finals to Hypnodisc. It would have lost to Napalm. It's just. I mean, I still at least like the aesthetics of Series 3 Evil Weevil, but Series 4 just looks really I guess muted is the word.
At least they could kind of drive it in Series 4.
I mean, it could be worse. It could be Series 5 Steg. We never and that's another robot we don't talk about.
3 Stegs to heaven, and it sure was.
Oh God, wish it had stayed there. And then finally, actually, one of the few. I think is this the only heat where both the seeds go out in the first round?
I believe so.
It might be because Weldor 2, which is actually a shame.
We're really getting into the classic robots now. When you get to, what the hell were they thinking with Weldor 2?
I don't understand the axe flipper on being on the same side.
Another 2000s robot.
It's weird because compared to the original Weldor, like the original Weldor was definitely the inferior one out of Centurion and Weldor, but it at least had a purpose. While this one has like a flipper and the axe, but the axe is behind the flipper.
And it has a mile of ground clearance.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, it could be worse. The later one, Weldor, has a weird little spinny thing in the back that does nothing. I mean,
Jim, can I just say, you asked me a little while ago what the least memorable robot from Robot Wars that I could think of. I genuinely forget that Weldor and Weldor 2 even exist.
Actually, I particularly forget the second Weldor. Actually, I vaguely remember the first one because of 101's heat, but
It's the only reason you remember Weldor is because it pretty much is exactly the same as Centurion.
Yeah, honestly, I prefer, and hence I remember Centurion. I go, I like Centurion. Oh yeah, Weldor would be like that. And then I'm not even joking. Before I looked at Weldor's picture on the wiki, I was about to say, well, that's the end of their podcast. I generally forgot that Weldor was a robot. I was like, have I covered all the robots? I was like, oh yeah, Weldor's at the bottom.
It's seeded 27 as well.
28.
28.
I mean, it's considered better than Suicidal Tendencies.
And Centurion.
Why is it better than Centurion? Centurion did way more in its first. But I mean, Weldor's opponent.
Weldor's against the Iron Mask.
Ooh. I mean, at least Centurion.
Is it only seeded higher because it beat Prometheus, that classic robot?
Well, can I say quote unquote beat? I mean, Prometheus beat itself up by throwing all its nuts and bolts at Weldor, hoping that would somehow like act as like a distraction technique, and only just realised it was basically killing itself. I mean, oh my! I mean, thank goodness for the War of Independence and future international tournaments, because, man, if
they try to enter for Series 5.
I will check the wiki just now. I'm not surprised. They appeared in Series 6 and did terribly. So I imagine they probably might have tried to play it. No, they just didn't enter. So they spent.
They had to spend a year off building Weldor 3.
And Weldor, how long did it last? Bugger all. Weldor 3 is literally just a wedge with a spinner. Although I will admit though, they went back to the classic camouflage design at least, as opposed to the tacky see-through design, which Weldor 2 just looks. It just looks awful. Again, Weldor's a seed that got higher than Centurion, even though it had to fight the Iron Mask and Prometheus as its only opponents.
Ooh. Really, really touching the limits of opponents there.
And as I said before, the weapon
And
mix,
it lost to Little Fly and something. Spoilers.
Oh, yeah, spoilers. Yeah, that's what. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to believe that these guys were the only Northern Irish representative for ages. Yeah. Wow. I mean, I thought it was bad that Monad's evolution line was the only representative of Ireland after Deitor retired in Series 5.
Yeah.
I don't even want to think about.
I don't know if Deitor retired. I think it was more that they weren't allowed to enter because the third was considered an entanglement device.
No, I think it was for Series 7 they couldn't get like a visa or something like that. It was something like that, or like a travel thing. Or something. But yeah, I mean, you know it's sad when top bot on 4x4 is your Irish representative.
Hey, before we finish up, can I just say that while we're previewing next heat, the robot in the pinball is probably my favorite looking robot from Series 4.
Banshee.
Yes.
Really?
Everything from the head down is gorgeous.
Apart from the head.
Yeah.
Like, I love that kind of paint
So
scheme
like
that
the
they
breasts?
did with the robot itself, but the breasts up is just like, no, get rid of that. Give it to Shunt to play with.
Well, he plays with the head quite.
But yeah, actually, yeah. I mean, Banshee's a full body spinner, and it's you know, it could have been good, but then you remember, oh wait, it's with the Shark Attack team.
Actually, also, before we end this fun fact, yeah, looking on the wiki, yes, it was the only heat where both seeds went out in the first round, which shows you how shit this heat even was. Even the heat didn't care about its seeds, and Weldor's seed was not actually announced when it was announced in battle, so even the team forgot it was a seed.
Well, at least it could be Series 5 where they don't announce any of the seeds.
Actually, in fairness, though, it would make the Morg seeding look even more weird.
Yeah, I still don't get how many Morg got a seed. Again, and considerably a high one as well.
That is an argument for Series 5. But yeah, we spent a lot of time talking about Heat K as well. But that was Heat K. That was Heat J we talked about.
You can basically skip this episode in the next heat.
No joke. I'm sorry I made that joke. I'm sorry. I feel JK. I feel terrible. But anyway, thank you to my two guests, of course. And of course, Alex, you're going to suffer again.
Yes, suffer. Well, you're suffering with me.
It's true, but you don't have to be there.
By the way, I know, you want us to book episodes for like this. I am not going to be in it when we come to Extreme 2 in the New Blood tournament. I'm not doing a single one of those.
Okay, I'll give them all to Anderson then.
Yeah.
That'll be spectacular.
I mean,
yeah.
Actually, hopefully Anderson might be in the next heat. If he isn't, then I'll see if someone else can replace. I can't imagine a lot of people will be scrabbling to get Heat K, so it might be just on your own potentially.
Yeah. Well, it's not the worst. I would say it's Heat K is not the worst episode because that will go to Heat C because dear God, Heat C.
But it's definitely close with Heat K. I mean, Heat K's biggest issue is just having really shit robots, while Heat C's biggest issue is just being bullshit throughout. So yeah, but anyway, of course, I'm Jimjamatic signing off.
And I'm Alexthehunted, bored out of his mind.
And I'm Mr. Psycho, trying to find out how to get back to the U.S.
You'll never go back.
Do you really want to go back there?
He's got.
I don't know which is better at this point.
He's got to watch more techno games. Anyway, see you later.